This is the dark side of Mexico. Mexico is a country rich in cultural history, starting with the Olmecs, who were the first known group of people in the region. But perhaps one of the most well-known Mexican ancient civilizations was the Mayans. They were considered one of the most brilliant societies of their time and thrived between 250 and 900 AD. Spaniards landed in the territory in 1519, took control of the region, and called it Nueva España. The territory separated itself from Spain in 1821 and was renamed the Nation of the Mexican Empire. Throughout the 18th century, there were disputes over territories between Spain, Britain, France, and the United States, leading to changing borders several times. Mexican territory used to extend beyond Texas and California. Seems like the United States stole all of this land from Mexico. While some suggest the United States had motives for taking over Texas and California, causing the Mexican-American War, the reasons for the conflict were quite complex. Eventually, the war led to the United States annexing both territories. Usually, Mexico is associated with their pyramids. But be aware and don't ever try to get on a pyramid. Otherwise, you will not believe what could happen. Ancient pyramids in Mexico are seen as sacred. That's why this particular case is quite shocking. A tourist decided to climb one of the pyramids in Chichen Itza, reaching considerable heights. She was quickly berated by the crowd and she was taken by the authorities. It's unclear whether or not the woman was uninformed, but her lack of respect made her pay the price. Maybe if she knew what ancient Mexican pyramids were used for, she might have had more reservations about climbing the structure. In the 1980s, archaeologists found evidence of human sacrifice in the Feathered Serpent Pyramid. There were more than 100 warriors with their hands bound and kneeling dead inside. Another pyramid contained remains of wolves, rattlesnakes, golden eagles, and pumas as animal sacrifices. Another dark fact about Mexico is how issues of safety, poverty, and inequality drive its people to flee the country to find better lives up north. Many illegal immigrants have gone. They have even utilized the Friendship Park development area located on the San Diego-Tijuana border to slip through. The number of migrant crossings is now rising again, with a busy area reaching over 1,000 encounters a day. One silver lining is the creativity that comes out of it. One artist has created a giant seesaw that goes through the border, where the children from Mexico and the US side can play with each other. It's quite a jarring sight, because the migrants who are desperate to cross and might sacrifice their own lives while doing so. You might be familiar with the Bermuda Triangle, but did you know that Mexico has its own version of this scary phenomenon? The area itself is called the Zone of Silence, located in the northern part of Mexico. Unlike the original version, the Mexican Bermuda Triangle is a patch of desert where compasses spin out of control and radio or satellites don't work. The first known incident in the Zone of Silence was of a pilot named Francisco Sarabia, who went over the area and found his instruments going haywire. Another incident was in the 70s when an American missile was fired from New Mexico and was pulled into the region. The American authorities decided to investigate and found the area to diffuse any sort of radio or satellite signals due to local magnetic fields that created a dark zone. Others have also noted strange encounters in the area, such as UFO and alien sightings. Mexico might be the land of beautiful beaches, but not the eerie Xochimilco Island. This island is also known as the Isla de las Muñecas, or the Island of the Dolls, and it's not for the faint-hearted. Located south of Mexico City, you'll find thousands of mutilated toys and dolls on the island. They'll be hanging from ceilings, trees, boats, and other spots to serve as a warning to tourists. According to the legend, a local man named Don Julian Santana was racked with guilt when he failed to save a drowning girl. When he thought that he was being haunted by the girl's spirit, he decided to scare her away by collecting unwanted, broken toys and putting them all over the island. He spent 17 years collecting dolls, mutilating, deforming, and scattering them. Right now, the island remains uninhabited with only the dolls existing in sight. It becomes one of the scariest places on Earth, with many believing it is haunted. Locals warn tourists that they are allowed to bring their doll to present to the island, but that they should never take any away. Fish have their fair share of horrifying facts, but the pacu fish from South America might be the creepiest for some just because of their teeth. These fish are closely related to the piranhas and have a rounded body that can grow quite large. Pacu fish reside in South American waters, and they're well known for their standout feature, uncanny resemblance to human teeth. Unlike other fish, pacu have square-shaped, flat teeth that are nicknamed ball cutters. The nickname itself came from the urban legend surrounding pacu fish, which is the testicle-biting myth. Although pacu fish may look scary, they're herbivores and pose no real threat to us. Because of their teeth, they're very adapted to plants, nuts, vegetation, and insects. They can easily adapt to their surroundings and thrive in non-native waters. Despite being a rising economy, there's one particular issue in Mexico that the country can't seem to shake: high rate of teen pregnancy. In fact, Mexico has the highest rate of teen pregnancy out of all OECD countries, with over 32.7 million girls being mothers, and 6 out of 10 are conceived around the age 14. It's so common that you might find yourself stumbling into a young girl with her children when you walk around a city in Mexico. One of the causes of teen pregnancy is lack of education and use of contraception. Mexico is considered as a conservative country when young people are not informed about consequences and are more likely to get into early pregnancy. What makes this a vicious cycle is that pregnancy is also one of the causes young women drop out of school. As they become less educated, they're more likely to repeat the pregnancy. Another shocking factor is that women with children are seen as more valuable than those without in some parts of Mexico. That's because there's just no real opportunities for girls, so being pregnant is just a milestone. If you're someone who's not comfortable with public displays of affection, you might need to steer clear of the streets of Mexico. Even Mexico City is dubbed as the PDA capital of the world. It's very common to see couples straddling each other in the park or in the middle of a makeout session in one of their parks. That's because Mexicans believe that expressions of love are not meant to be hidden or seen as shameful. If you're wondering about the legal boundaries, it seems that the Mexican government is quite supportive. In 2007, Mexico City decriminalized certain acts of PDA, making a step toward a more liberal society. Even Guadalajara, considered as one of the most conservative cities in Mexico, approved of sexual relations in public view. With this legal standing, Mexican police won't sanction under one condition: there's no complaint from the public. One of the reasons why this law is established is to focus the police effort elsewhere. Some people in conservative towns are concerned that this law might lead to moral issues. Thankfully, they can still lodge a complaint when it's necessary. Many people from abroad, including U.S. citizens, have been lured to the country thanks to its affordable cosmetic surgery. Medical tourism is on the rise in Mexico, and it can be done at a fraction of the cost, and the regulation is more lax. Sadly, these surgeries come with great risks, even death. In several cases, patients have returned home to find that they were infected with antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The bacteria infection, Pseudomonas, could lead to a loss of limb, lung infection, or even death. Most of these infections were caused by invasive weight loss surgeries that use unhygienic utensils. That's not the only thing you need to worry about when you're a medical tourist in Mexico. In one case, 4 Americans were kidnapped by the cartels when they were there to receive a cosmetic surgery procedure. 2 of the group ended up dying, while the others were thankfully sent back home safe. Are you interested in visiting Mexico after hearing all these interesting dark facts? then you might need to pay close attention to what you should avoid doing in Mexico. The first rule is to not speak too much English when you're out and about. Speaking aloud, especially in English, could be a dead giveaway that you're a tourist, and people might charge you extra for things you need. Another fact is to avoid using public restrooms. Mexican public restrooms could be far from hygienic standards, and a lack of decent amount of toilet paper, not to mention you're supposed to pay to access it. You should also not bring or flex expensive items. Wearing designer items or expensive accessories means you're just asking to be robbed. Lastly, never mention if you're from the US, as you might get taken advantage of by the locals. Exploring the dark side of Mexico gives us a complex glimpse of the country's challenges and struggles. However, we need to acknowledge the spirit of the Mexican people in the face of adversity. By understanding the intricacies of these challenges, hopefully, the nation can pave a brighter future, much like its ancient ancestors did.